Here we go. KT on the blue side this time around. The band so far looking similar. Will we see the Azir picked up this time, or the Swain ban, as, well, they don't want to pick it first, so they'll take it away from the side of MVP here.
Yeah, there are numerous bad matchups for the Swain, and while they were happy to first rotation it on the red side, they don't have as much flex pick status on blue, and they don't want to first pick it like you mentioned. No sign of the Swain in game number 2. The Kai'Sa, we've been informed, is enabled today, even though it was disabled in the EU and NA/LCS. So, outside chance we see KT play it after Deft has made so many games of it in solo queue. He's definitely been feeling it. There is the buff on patch 8.6, so maybe 8.6 is where we see the Kai'Sa, but in a match like this where they're expected to win, outside chance, we see the Kai'Sa in action.
Fan of Kanata here, of course, one of the analysts of the Korean desk. She says she's going to be there in Busan. I hope we have some other fans coming down to Busan, some of you guys listening perhaps.
And there's an alpaca for Deft. We mentioned the Olaf has been buffed up, and with a Varus ban, we will see Olaf first picked here for score. Hasn't looked outstanding on the pick so far, but definitely can situationally fit his playstyle. He was too passive on the Olaf against Kingzone when we saw it, so want to see a bit more aggression there. But after the buffs, Olaf is a must first pick or first ban for most teams in Korea, as a combat lead over basically every possible enemy jungler. But that jungler will be delayed as Xayah Rakan again going to be picked up. But even though it's MVP 2 games in a row, do note it is different AD carries. It's Pilot this time on the Xayah.
Yeah, just saying they like the composition in the bottom lane, the Xayah Rakan, the duo down there. And certainly we've seen, as I said before, Xayah, even without the Rakan. So a lot of teams beginning to see the power of Xayah overall. And so no surprise that it does get picked. But also, we do see Yukal get his Azir this time. So we'll pick that up along with another Leona game for Mata.
No surprises that the Leona will be first round after it was in a very similar scenario on the red side in game number 1. Let's see if they reach for a mid laner or a jungler with the final pick on red side. They're very likely to have a double ban against the role they don't select for. Ian's mid lane champion pool is always an interesting thing to follow. So I would imagine he would take the pick, and they will just take Corki for the mid lane. Haven't seen a lot of Corki in the LCK recently, but there are certainly matchups we'll see more of him in. If we do see a Galio attempted on the blue side, the first round Corki looking more and more likely. There we go. It's going to be the mid lane, which does mean we expect to see some jungle bans from KT.
Well, we did see Beyond on the Zac the last time. We even saw a fan sign for Beyond Zac, but no Zac ban just yet. The Skarner still available. We're going to go for that ban first.
Skarner Zac, a very possible duo that are banned. Seems like we'll be seeing Deft jump on the Ezreal again, unless it's going to be Kai'Sa time, as the Caitlyn is taken away for some lane control options. Varus and Caitlyn off the board usually does prompt the Ezreal for most of our AD carries, as Tristana has been losing lane a bit too hard in recent matches, and on this patch has taken more laning nerfs, which mean that in Korea we'll probably see less of her. We do see a double jungle ban, but actually goes towards the Nidalee, as that is the combat choice, and actually can go 1v1 against the Olaf.
Oh!
Okay, we're getting Xin Zhao. There's another 1v1 choice. All right.
Okay.
I've been seeing more and more Xin Zhao in solo queue recently, so people are obviously liking some of those combat junglers on the side of KT. We mentioned the Ezreal. There has been Jhin Bust, double lift, loving that one in the NALCS.
Yeah, but looking like an Ezreal, unless Deft wants to play with their hearts again, but the answer is going to be no. Ezreal Leona looked way too strong. They were even getting overboard with that pick. And no Mata, no top lane Blitzcrank, unless they really wanted to get in the heads of MVP.
Showing some strange stuff. They show the top lane Annie, which is the famous Chinese counter pick into the Gnar that we see once in a while. But it's just going to be Smeb on Sion, going for the safest matchup possible. And how about an Ornn to make top lane the maximum non-interactive?
You call it non-interactive, I call it pretty boring, but it's probably what we're going to see. And it is going to be the Ornn picked up for the side of ADD. So obvious things about this game. We are going to be all excited about the Xin Zhao, how it can do up against Score's Olaf. If Beyond seemed like in the last game he wanted to be really active in the bottom side doing the ganking style, but this time around he says, no, I want to be even more aggressive and just attack Score directly. We'll see if it actually helps out MVP in Game 2.
You gotta say that the ult could be very valuable in team fights depending on how they're constructed, because Ezreal is mostly going to be doing damage from well out of the zone of safety, or the cone of safety, you would say. It comes through from the Xin Zhao ultimate now, after they changes a few patches ago. First Korean Xin Zhao in forever. I do wish we had this stat on screen. When we last saw Xin Zhao in the LCK has been so very long. But even after nerfs to Xin Zhao in recent patches, we're going to see it, and it is something that can get up close and personal with the Olaf. If you try to take Xin Zhao at the wrong time 1v1, you will lose.
Yeah, so Beyond throwing caution to the wind, they ban out his Nidalee, he gets offended. He's like, you want me to stop fighting you? I'm just going to pick something else that can fight you. So I'm really excited to see if he can actually do that up against Score. Everything else on the side of KT looking pretty standard. Excited to see Mata on another game of Leona up against Zaya Rakan as well.
The hype's on the new pick. A lot of scaling for the side of MVP. 3-4 items to their gold standard, but they couldn't get to it in Game 1, Valdez. They're going to struggle to do it here unless the Xin Zhao really gets going.
Excited to see how it's going to go here as game number 2 is ready. Let's start the countdown and jump right onto the Rift. Here we do go. Definitely one for the record books. Not sure about the last time we saw the Xin Zhao.
I would say it was pre-LCK era. I'm thinking Season 3, Season 4 for the Xin Zhao, which has never been a big pick in Korea. Big reason for that, Valdez, is Deft walks up to Pilot.
And this is Deft in a little bit of trouble, but could try to be baiting into the Scion. Not sure if that's a bait when you lose your flash, though, as now Smev on a pretty interesting Scion skin is trying to make things a little bit harder as double flash. And an actual bait does come out from KT. Also the heal being lost by Pilot.
Oh, Pilot has to use double summoners and Max has to flash over. We saw the return of the cheese strat with the Scion, where you run straight into lane as a top laner and try to queue at level 1 to look for a kill. That's why he was moving bot side there, Deft, as he had someone to pull back onto. Watching Beyond on the Xin Zhao has gone for the Audacious Charge at level 1 because it gives you the attack speed to power through with the machete. But how aggressive does Beyond go? As that walk looks epically bugged every time I see it.
Whoa.
I know.
That's like next level. I mean, we've all seen Sivir, right? We've had a lot of fun with Sivir, but look at this. It's really important if Beyond can come in here at level 2 and say, hey, no, that's my blue buff. You get the hell away.
Yeah, because of all the disarray. Trying to go for a power farm style as Score, and he realizes very early that it's going to be a level 2 invade, and Olaf knows a jungler that falls low against a champion who has a gap close and flash up. You run away. So, able to get the first invade, gets the blue buff steal. Going to largely be about the single target camps until he gets the W. Very nice invade time, and a phase rush as well. Problem with Xin Zhao, and the reason why you never saw it in Korea is it only goes one way. When you go phase rush, you're going really fast in that one way, Valdez.
Yeah, you can do some incredible things, right? A lot of damage, burst even comes out from his ultimate, and if nobody can get inside, it's going to be hard, especially when you're going up against Ezreal. The Ezreal doesn't want to be on top of the Xin Zhao, right? You're going to be taking a lot of damage. Even the Azir wants to be poking from distance, and who's really going to be able to take down the Xin Zhao when he jumps in? That's going to be the question. Speaking of which, jumping on in, Smeb flashing early, but that's not really going to work as ADD. Is it going to work, though? It definitely does work. The double kill to Smeb, totally botched. On the dive, that was not supposed to happen, and Smeb will say, thank you very much, double kill and double buff.
I saw it coming, Valdez, but that is a huge punishment on the Xin Zhao. And Score stealing away blue. Can go for a very early Drake as well. Danking a Scion under turret always goes poorly because remember he has the passive, usually to answer at least a single kill. He gets the double, botched turret dive. Big win for KT.
Oh boy, and then you just have Deft come on over here. There's no pressure. The Leona guards for you. You can smite early if you absolutely need to, and a 3.5 minute Mountain Drake goes over. This is not what MVP wanted when they picked the Xin Zhao.
And also, when you consider the Xin Zhao pick, let's come together with what he's done here. He's gone for Xin Zhao. We'll halt the theory to watch the execution problems. They take the first turret shot, but because Smeb flashes away from the initial damage, ADD does very little in all of this. And then Smeb hits level 3 to get his W, to make Beyond look like the fool as well. Well, let's take a step back and theory craft. Why the Xin Zhao? Because he runs up to Olaf, laughs in his face, and kills him when he tries to farm the jungle at low health. Okay, that part makes sense. Why the phase rush? Why not press the attack, which you see in solo queue? And also would scale very well with his damage carries in the late game, having that damage amp for everyone to profit off. Well, because you want to phase rush onto the Olaf, ignore the slow from the first Q, and chase him down. This is purely set up to kill the Olaf. They go for a lane gank and botch it. They don't have the extra damage from the press the attack, and they go down. Press the attack was buffed on this patch to make it even more suitable for the Xin Zhao. So unfortunately, they pick it for one thing, use it for another, and they shouldn't be surprised they leave with egg on their faces.
Yeah, definitely the full explanation makes sense. I mean, he even takes water walking. It's just, you know, even the magic damage shield, it's like, I just don't want to die to this Olaf, and I want to be in his face all the time, and it all makes sense, but it still feels like people are going to watch this game and be like, huh, Xin Zhao sucks, I'm never playing him, but actually, I would like to see it again in the future, just executed a little bit more
It's a
cleanly.
really risky pick, but it works against Olaf. It wasn't used against Olaf, and now here is Olaf.
Yeah, Smeb's going to hit level 6 first, and ADD with no flash is just a sitting duck. See you later. Going to give that kill over to Score, the easiest gank you've ever seen.
And MVP would really like to restart this scrim and start from level 1 again. KT would have a bit of information, but you know, they'd probably trade it for the 3-kill lead. They've donated over to the side of KT. The Orin now is going to fall behind and unable to do much. The Xin Zhao from behind has always been a champion to draw Scorn because it only goes one way, as we said a couple of times in this cast already. And now Score's invading and feeling confident enough to overtake the enemy jungle. This is a disaster for MVP.
KT are going to be happy with this one. They just pick a very standard comp, make it look easy up against MVP. They don't have to show anything else up against MVP. They don't have to go to a Game 3 just yet. That's how they're feeling. We'll see if MVP can actually pull something out of their hat, but when you're down this much this early, even the Mountain Drake is going to be annoying to deal with when you get it this early. And it also offers Score the ability to just say, you were supposed to be the one invading me, but now I'm going to be in your face.
Yeah, the simple fact that Score is a level up and invading on the Xin Zhao is a big problem. You look at the comp from MVP and you say, okay, we got Corki Xayah scaling, 3-4 items looking good. Think back to the previous game. Same story for MVP, right? They had the scaling draft and we said, okay, KT has the Ezreal as a bridge in that particular game. In this game, the Xin Zhao was supposed to be the bridge for MVP to let them get to late game and actually take over the game because Xin Zhao was going to trivialize the Olaf, have the early power spike because Xin Zhao early game is useful, late game can be a struggle to make him work in team fights. Because he's behind, that's the same as if Ezreal died twice in lane and was 20 CS behind and got a 25-minute 2 items. They don't have a bridge, and the enemy team has extra gold. So that's really bad for the side of MVP.
So we got to take a step back. It seems like the bleeding has stopped for now. There was only the 1 kill up in the top lane, but now ADD is going to have his flashback. Beyond at least is going to hit level 6. And we'll have the ability to perhaps go for another gank. And things are going to calm down now afterwards, as shouldn't be too much action in the mid lane. I would expect to see it in the bot lane once again. I mean, that's what we saw from game number 1. It certainly seems like Mata and Deft are very happy to go aggressive against the Xayah Khan, and do like the fact that the Observer is spending a lot of time down here in the bottom lane.
Definitely, the coach would have had a couple of words and said, maybe don't try to harass with the Arcane Shift. Otherwise, pretty much what you should be doing, so they were close to executing right. Beyond will be going Cinderhulk, so we'll not be going to Warrior or Devourer or the crazy items you see in solo queue. We've seen a lot of junglers who go warrior just end up way behind. And I do like the fact that he fell behind and said, I should probably build tank rather than going warrior from behind like we see Jungle Camille do very frequently.
It's something you never see in solo queue, by the way. Everybody's, you know, they've got their MOBA Fire builds out. They're like, well, the next step is I get the warrior enchant.
Come on, it's pro builds in 2018, Valdez.
True, true. I was just trying to make it seem even worse. But, yeah, people generally do not go tank even when they're behind. I've seen many an 0-4 top lane. What can you say? Or maybe, you know, in this case, a mid lane Xin Zhao, or even the Jacks you get, they'll still go for the aggression. Sometimes because of solo queue, they eventually show up at 40 minutes and you're like, oh, you're really strong now, even though you started at 0-4. But
happens in pro play with Gathering Storm too, so we definitely can't talk and fully count out the 40-minute win condition, but feels like KT
there it
is one of those teams you don't want to do that as. Yes, 2013 from Daydream on CJ Blaze, Neo Blaze. So not even 2014, a month short of 2014. 1,565 days. All right, hands up. Who was watching the LCK back then? I have my hand up. I'm not going to trust most of the chat and the people that message me, but that was a long time ago.
I'll join the hipster crew. Just definitely watching, but it's, you know, they put in a lot of effort to, you know, slightly buff him up, change him a bit, and then finally once they gave him the cool avatar, everybody's like, well, now we got to play him. And flash onto Beyond, actually, and here we go. Mata's going to be the only one. Ian in a lot of trouble, though, in the back line. Yukao trying to take him down, and there he goes. Now going to go 1v4. He's got the help of his team, though. There's nothing the Orin can do, and this is a slaughter fest on the Rift as KT are playing with their food now. They're going to be diving as much as they possibly can. 3 kills. And probably the mid lane turret.
And Valdez is the sort of game where perfect game can be talked about very early. It is so hard for MVP to do anything till they have 2 to 3 items on their Corki and their Xayah, and that time should never come. The entire draft has fallen apart because of the mis-execution in the early game. It's a second Drake before even 11 minutes of hit. As score falls very low.
Oh boy. Disaster
for MVP. Not the one they want to show their fans when they may only have one more series to play this week.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned on MVP's side, they want to avoid relegations. Well, this is not the way to do it. As Ian, there was no hope in hell for him to get away. Beyond, not really that tanky. Even with the Cinder Hulk, they just flash onto him after his ult is down. And again, no escape for the Xin Zhao. He gets caught, and he's dead.
It wasn't even perfect execution from KT. They missed a lot of abilities. Deft ulted on the Xin Zhao, took no damage because he has ult going. It doesn't matter because of the compositions between the two. Mid lane turret falls and all that for first brick. Of course it had to be mid lane if you're an MVP fan. Now the Cork is going to have to be even more passive. KT Rolster, they can already start feeling the 2-0. The early night dream for KT is definitely alive.
Yeah, I mean, with BBQ coming up second, we'll certainly have a lot of time to eat some chicken, Papa. So
that's true. The free chicken.
Nice, you know. Some time to relax. MVP won't get a second chance with a game like this. And, well, with 2 Mountain Drakes, it's even easier to take this early Rift Herald. And nothing seemingly going right on the side of MVP. KT feeling pretty happy. Same builds here for Deft. Not going to change it up. Going to hit a similar power spike. He's not the one getting the kills, but it doesn't really matter at this point.
I mean, his job in general is to cue the Xin Zhao and Orin who are behind and just trivialize them with movement speed slows. As Sion is at the enemy red buff.
ADD thought he could fight, but now that Yukao is going to be here, there's definitely no way they can fight here. Going to give the red buff over to Score.
Oh boy. Riot killing our memes. Sadly, the Cloud Drake no longer a meme, a very strong Drake in its own right. Mountain is one of those iffy ones, depending on whether you have a Baron killing comp, but definitely take it when you're this far ahead as KT. I guess Ocean after the first spawn is our new meme.
Yeah, for sure. I'm thinking about, you mentioned the Mountain Drake. Will there be times where the Cloud Drake is actually stronger?
Definitely.
Certainly in some compositions. Against certain compositions as well. But Triple Mountain Drake is going to be even funnier as in a game like this, we could certainly predict some 20-minute Barons or just early pushes down the lanes.
I hope we see the Xin Zhao again. It might be a one and done. We may never see it again. Beyond has played some crazy stuff in his time, but I like the theory into the Olaf in particular. And Olaf is going to be this pick that either has to be banned or answered, and there's such a limited pool of champions who can jungle into Olaf, but certainly not going to be the best first impression from the Olaf, from the Xin Zhao. KT playing with their food in the bot lane. No CS lead to speak of, but definitely a control lead. Seeing the pull out to let us know that Olaf is jungling in this area.
Olaf's jungling, Beyond's waiting in the tri-brush nearby, saying maybe they'll dive. Maybe I'll have a chance to actually go in on this one.
Knows Mata has been in the area, but Mata's only there to relieve pressure. Good read from the side of KT. Have a good read that they're on the bot side of the jungle. Score can walk up. No mid lane control, even with the package for the Corki. It's just hit Trinity Force and maybe one item for the members of MVP. But there is little to no map control for either their blue or red side jungle. And this is in a non-tracker's knife meta. So it's insane how much KT control of this map pre-15 minutes.
Looking to now push in the bottom side, they got Score nearby. And again, nobody could even get close. You see Beyond cowering in fear with Max and Pilot way down the lane. Not much for him to do, except clean up what little he has left of his jungle.
It's a bit of a sad game, honestly. You know, we're all about being the highest level of competition in Korea, but when you go for this comp where you really need the Xin Zhao to be battle-warding the Olaf, and the botch dive happens, unfortunately, a lot of the excitement around the game is extinguished. We're kind of waiting for KT to find an objective big enough for MVP to force a fight around it, and then we kind of know the result from there. The spoilers were very early in this one. The script was written and so far is being followed.
Yeah, so just gonna have to wait here. We still have our stats, even so. Kind of the 0 glaring in the ganking column from Beyond. Certainly that gank in the top lane might have counted for 2 failed ganks. Not sure if there were actually 3 ganks from the Xin Zhao.
And gank is always used in inverted commas because it usually means just a certain level of position to one of the allies rather than necessarily landing an ability on someone. Gonna push up with the Rift Herald very, very early here. They bring over 4, does MVP.
They're certainly trying to fight in the face. I mean, they have a Trinity Force on Ian, so he does a healthy amount of damage. They do clear this up in time. Smeb carrying over here with his 3-0-1 scoreline. He's certainly going to be even more tanky. It's kind of funny when you get this far behind how little damage you do against tanks that are fed. And I'm sure we'll be seeing some of that Scion lulling in your face in a little bit here.
It's Q-Max Scion as well. Usually we see more of the Slayer maxed against an Ornn because the second half of the Q is able to answer it. But if you go Q-Max, you can answer a Banner of Command minion better as the game goes on. Third Mountain Drake taken so early. It is going to be the Ocean, so there we can finally have some memes for KT. But basically the play plan for KT is put a control ward on Baron, put 2 behind the Baron, and kill the Baron basically instantly with the Azir and the Ezreal.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be real fast. Now we just want to wait and see how the game comically does extend to a second Elder, and 60% extra damage to turrets and the Baron would be very amusing.
Shouldn't have any more banner shenanigans, so we could have had some very early Bannon minions on an earlier patch on 8.4, but probably not today.
Banner of Command is still a good item. It still has its uses in the side lane when we're going to eventually see Swain and Ryze and these other champions play in side lanes. As the red buff steal doesn't happen. But you're right, the full-on Bannon push ending the game on the first Baron is no longer going to be a thing you have to respect as much.
Curious to see if Beyond can actually have any pressure in this game. Perhaps I'm hoping for too much. Game is kind of stalled out here as MVP have gone into full turtle mode. They're saying, okay, I mean, even take our Raptors or try to push into our red buff, but we'll just try not to die from here out.
Well, the problem for KT is they've killed everything that's easy to kill. They have 3 Drakes and the 3 outer turrets. So the next thing to kill is definitely going to be the Baron. That's the thing you want to start up and then look for a turn with Leona, for example, or a big Yukal Shreema shuffle play. All they can do is push minions and put down wards in the enemy red side jungle. Everything else very, very difficult for KT to actually obtain. Beyond's going to take the blue buff for some reason. I guess no one else could get there.
Yeah, I mean, you got Ian all the way up in the top lane, trying to answer the push from Yukal, so he'll say, well, it's better I take it than Deft, let's say, who he's been trying to snipe out the buffs, trying to get some more highlights for his Ezreal highlight reel, as if he needed more.
Feel the same way about the win rate for Yukal on the Azir. He'd be 5-0. They go on to win this game, which seems very, very likely. Finding his strides. We still don't know who'll be starting in their first playoff match. Will they go with their recent starter in Yukal or bring back Pawn? I imagine if they lose some games in the best of 5, Pawn will definitely be looked at. But
yeah,
in recent losses, they haven't been subbing in Pawn straight away. So they are giving an extended run to Yukal to truly understand where his power level is at. And as we've mentioned in the opening, the laning phase has been a strength for Yukal that Pawn has struggled with.
Yeah, I certainly like that, where they've got a playoff spot basically secured, and they're saying, well, how good is this guy really? And, well, this is one way to do it. Certainly Azir is good. I was surprised it made it all the way through the pick ban to allow KT to pick it up, but they had other things in mind, MVP. Baron doesn't get started just yet, even after it spawns, so it looks like they want to push in a little bit more and take it even safer from here. Not messing around as KT.
See the pings, they're trying to clear some of the control wards. 3 in the top side jungle, as MVP fully understands what KT wants to do next on their checklist. 2 of them taken away. They're able to stick a control ward for more than 10 seconds onto the Raptor Brush. At 20 minutes, that's a good sign for KT. Will eventually be taken out, but there's that Baron start with Triple Mountain, remember?
Seems like MVP had a pretty good idea of it. So Beyond was charging forward, fearless, as is Zhao. It's kind of the name of the game for him.
Seen some interesting blue side Olaf plays where Olaf will look to zone, then flashes over into the Baron pit to smite it away, which sounds crazy, but has been done by 2 teams already. Looking for Beyond.
Well, he only goes one way. No escape for our Xin Zhao as the damage is coming in. Max actually is going to be able to save his life for now, but they are going deep. KT, they got to be careful. We've seen this before. Don't want to play too much with your food. They're going to get the knock up here off the Scion, and Smeb will go down as KT once again look to make things interesting.
They just seem to not understand the mechanic with the Crescent Guard. Kept dumping damage from range into the Xin Zhao, wondering why he wouldn't die. Of course, is immune to damage outside of that fairly small AoE. They don't get the pick. Scion up the front too long. First attempt to close is botched. The moment that he ults, remember, that's the circle of safety. Deft doesn't get in the circle, so does no damage to him throughout the majority, and the magic damage shield stops him from going down to the Ezreal ultimate. Yukal can't follow in for damage. Smeb ends up being sacrificed, and MVP do buy themselves some more time. That did not seem to be likely to happen based on the timetable of the first 20 minutes.
It's just a common reoccurrence from the side of KT, and it's not a compliment when I say that. So many times have they been in that exact position where they're very far ahead and they are pushing into the red side jungle trying to clear out vision, and it seems like they just don't know when to say, okay, let's let them go. They just get way too overconfident and they push in, and I hope that doesn't lead to their demise, but MVP certainly doing a good job of delaying and buying time, and even Beyond baiting them out there and netting themselves a kill here to make it not a perfect game.
And it sounds trivial. You avoided the perfect game, you got a single kill. Are you still massively behind and outcomped in the late game, or at least in the mid game? Yes. Problem is for KT is that when you give away that kill, you can't just walk back and assume the previous game state. Now you have to go to the side lanes and push 3 lanes out. Now you have to again group in enemy red side jungle and clear out vision before you can take the Baron. So you actually buy 3 to 5 minutes more game time where MVP get items they should never have got based on where the game was at. So the cost is very significant in terms of time, even though the gold cost was only 1 kill over the way of MVP.
Certainly Ian is going to be happy about that after helping out in that kill. Picks up a rapid fire cannon. Also, another one picked up on Pilot. So he'll be able to fight a little bit better in these ones. And you got to be careful about that. He does have a nice bit of scaling himself.
Banner of Command still available for the Ola.
Running away, as nobody wants to ruin their KDAs at the end of this game, of course. They just want to pick up as many kills as possible. KDD gonna run in here. Smeb maybe trading his life in the end, finally. Oh no, he actually doesn't. He lived in the back line. There you go, double kill also. Gonna go over to you, Cal. They want some more, but that's gonna do it. The Nexus goes down at KT with a very clean day, 2-0 over MVP.
Less than 1 hour of game time for KT Rolster, able to take it down onto MVP. MVP trying something with the Xinjiao, but went horribly wrong so early. And we wondered, the only question we were asking was, would it be a perfect game? How early would it be? Credit to MVP, they had an appropriate amount of vision to ward their red side jungle, and they delayed the Baron to around 24 or 25 minutes. But it was only going to be about the delay. The late game dream was never going to happen for MVP because the bridge in the Xinjiao collapsed. Unfortunately, it was an NA bridge. It just couldn't last. It went down far too early. And MVP go down to KT, and that means that MVP, when it comes to relegation battle, are right down there, Valdez.
Yeah, you got to be so careful. You don't want to go into the relegations, as we mentioned it before. But again, it's KT. Maybe MVP have a bit more luck up against SKT, who have been having their own troubles. But tonight, they're going to have to call it here because they look disappointed. But what are you going to do? The gang fails top, and the game falls apart.
You roll it back and say, why are we turret diving top? We have good damage, but the execution wasn't there. And it felt like the foolproof way of using the strategy was tracking the enemy jungler, battle ward style, and trying to kill Olaf in his own jungle pre-6. They didn't go for that. The dive could have been executed, but it was poorly executed. And then the win conditions were gone. The care cup was empty from the side of KT Rolster, and it ended up being a very comfortable victory.
So there you have it, just over 6:30 here, an hour and a half after we started this broadcast, and we're already done with the first series, but we're going to take a look at the last replay here. Just not even sure why we are. It was the end of a total slaughter fest. That was game 2.
Looking for Smeb's life staying alive, I guess, in the front line. I was focused on the back line. Smeb falls super low, but is still Scion, and is able to flash away at sub 100 health. Ults away, saying cowards to MVP. Too easy for KT. They're going to feel happy about this, and it means their match against Afrika, which ends the season back at SPO TV on Sunday, will be an eventual preview of a semi-final or a quarterfinal of the LCK.
Well, the Xinjiao did less damage than the Rakan. That certainly tells the whole story of this game, as the Olaf was huge, took over the jungle after the failed dive. Scion was ridiculously fed, and Azir and the Ezreal had way too much room to actually make this game work. Triple Mountain Drake and the Troll Ocean Drake coming in for KT. And not as severe, actually, as the gold graph of game 1, which actually ended sooner, before 27 minutes, but certainly felt like more of a stop.
A confidence booster for KT, but it heaps pressure onto MVP. They face SKT later in the week, and they will be watching our second series, BBQ Olivers versus Afrika Freaks. Very, very concerned. BBQ play Afrika, hard match to pick up a victory. They also play Kongdu Monster, so game score could be so important as both of them started the day on -10, and that means that MVP one match ahead will be -12. So we're getting into that end of season worry that MVP, after not slipping into relegation last year, may actually end up slipping into relegation this week.
Never a place you want to be in here. Curious about who the MVP of KT will be in game number 2. Certainly the two damage dealers didn't really pop off in the way that you would have hoped. Perhaps Smeb surviving the dive with a perfect execution on his part, and then eventually being the ridiculously tanky Scion that never died in the end. I would have to pick Smeb as my MVP, but let's see what SpoTV thinks. It is going to be Smeb, 3, 1, and 4 overall.
He was able to live in a scenario that seemed engineered for his demise, the ping of level 3, even ending up with a double kill under turret for the Scion. I haven't seen a lot of top lane Scion from Smeb, only his second game on the season, but predictably, if he can play the carries, he can play the tanks, and Smeb very happily will accept 700 MVP points, still with an outside chance. Very unlikely because they may only play another 2, they will only have another maximum of 2 MVPs on their side with 1 match to play. But congratulations to Smeb.
So I'm going to hand it over to Ji-sun to help translate for the interview of Score and Smeb here with Sungke.
자, 오늘의 승리를 이끈 두 선수를 성수원 캐스터와 함께 만나보시죠.
정말 압도적인 승리였습니다. 완벽한 승리가 나왔습니다.
KT
2대 0으로
Rolster
멋진
picking
승리를
up 2-0 victory
얻어내면서
against
후반기
MVP.
박차를 가고 있는 KT 롤스터.
So today we're going to hear from
선수들을
Score
환영합니다.
and Smeb from KT Rolster.
정말 그 아무것도 수식어가 필요 없을 정도로 굉장히 스피디한 경기,
It
굉장히
was
빠른
a
경기,
very
굉장히
speedy
놀라운
game and
경기였습니다.
amazing
소감 말씀
performance. How do you feel?
일단 저희가 1경기인데 좀 게임이 엄청나게 빨리 끝난 것 같아요.
Yeah, I think it did end early.
성캐님이 너무 좋아하셔가지고.
So
아니요,
I think Songcaster, you look really happy.
경기 좋았었는데 전혀 그렇지 않습니다. 네.
어쨌든 저희가 경기력이 올라와야 되는데
And I wanted us to perform better in competitive games, so I feel really satisfied today.
궁금한 게 뭐가 부족했어요? 지금 거는? 뭐 부족한
Well,
게
did you guys
없었는데?
lack in anything in your
저희가
performance?
지금 뭐 스크림 때 아직 완벽한 모습을
Well, during the scrims, we don't really make clean games,
살짝 불안했는데
so I was really nervous before going into
대회날은
games.
잘해가지고
But happily, we did well on the competitive
그러니까
games,
이게
so I'm really
연습
happy.
상황에서의 아쉬움만 얘기했지 뭐 실질적인 경기 내에서의 완성도는 대단했으니까. 스미스 선수는 어땠어요?
Yes,
오늘
Smeb, you want to add on to that?
특히나 그 1대2도 그랬습니다만 전반적인 경기가
Well,
너무
overall, your
좋아가지고.
performance
어땠어요, 오늘 경기?
was
저희가
outstanding.
이제 추구하는 방향대로 연습 때는 잘 나오지 않았었거든요.
Well, not like our screams. I think it did well as we planned beforehand, so it's really relieving
뿌듯하네요.
and
그렇죠.
happy.
일단 추구하는 거 조금만 더 구체적으로 말씀해 주세요. KT가
Well, what was your aim for today's game?
뭐 단순히 뭐 빠른 경기 이런 건 아닐 거잖아요.
이제 팀적으로 이제 약속을 하나를 정하면은
Well, as
그
a team,
약속을
we
행하기
set up a
위해서 이제
promise
다 같이
before
노력하는
games.
게 저의 목표인데
So our
약속을
aim is
말씀드리기가
to for
어려워요.
all the players to go for the promise, but it's a secret, so I can't really tell you.
내부 내용이긴 합니다만 팀 단위로 오늘 그 원하는 방향성이 있으면 그 방향에 대해서는 확실히 만들어내는데 오늘은 그러면 굉장히
So
만족할
did
만한
it go well today?
장면들이 나온 거네요.
예, 뭐 실수가 있었긴
Yeah, we
했지만
did make some
그래도
mistakes,
완벽에
but
가깝지 않았나
yeah, it was near
생각해요.
perfect today.
굉장히 그 놀라운 장면 1세트, 2세트 모두 굉장히 있었는데 이런 단합의 그 중심에는 분명히 체육대회에 있다라는
We heard that recently the whole KT roster went camping to become more solid as a team.
단합을 만들기 위해서 체육대회를 했는데
Is that
선수들도
true? How was
크게
that?
기뻐했다더라라고 글자로 나왔거든요. 여기 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요? 스코어 선수.
일단은 저는 조금 체력적으로 많이
Well,
힘들더라고요.
I was really exhausted
하루
after
이틀 정도는
hanging
다
out there with
약속도
my
걸었는데
teammates.
네네.
뭐 어느 정도 효과가
Well, but it
있었던 것
didn't really
같아요.
help us
아니
to
정신적으로
become
확실히 있었던 것 같은데.
a real
안 그랬어요?
team or
저도 이제
reinforce our
정신적으로
teamwork.
힘들면은 몸을 써야지 또 그 정신이 풀린다고 생각하거든요. 그래서
네.
이제 다 같이
Yeah,
운동을 좀
hanging
했는데
out there with
저는
my
운동을 좀 좋아하는
teammates.
편인데도 많이 힘들더라고요.
But it was really tough. Really, we had to do a lot of physical
그런
activities over
육체적인
there.
장면을 좀
예.
갖고 계신 분이니까.
But it did help us with the
그래도
teamwork.
분명히 말씀해 주신 것처럼 전반적으로 흔들릴 수 있을 만한 상황이 그 체육대도 분명히 뭐 동기부여 중에 하나가 됐을 것 같고 팀을 뭉치게 만든 힘이 된 것 같죠?
So I think you guys did pulled out as a team.
저희 코치 정재승 코치님이 단합하자고 이제
Yeah, it was our coach's idea
네.
to help us become a little bit more solid as a
좀더
team.
많이 됐던 것 같아요.
다음에는 그런 얘기할 때 눈빛에 좀 영혼 좀 담아주세요. 지금까지 대답 중에서 가장 영혼이 없었던 것 같아서.
알겠습니다.
농담이었고요. 다음 조금씩 이제 경기 좀 얘기해 보겠습니다.
So moving on to
1세트 한번
games.
만나볼 텐데 1세트는 사실상 그 스카너가 보였던 많은 장면 중에서 이렇게까지 안정적으로 경기를 푸네. 스카너가 굳이 나가서
Well,
뺄줄
Skarner
때는
seemed really
대부분 장면보다
consistent throughout the
안정적인
game.
대부분의 좋은 마무리 연결을 하는 장면들도 꽤 많이 있었거든요. 어떤 장면이 기억에 많이 남아요?
Is there any special moments
일단
they
저희가
really
원래 먼저
remember?
걸어도 좋은 조합인데 상대편이 좀 많이 과도하게 이니시를
Well, actually, we had a lot of
제가 이니시를 거의
priority in opening team fights, but MVP was actually trying to open team fights on their side, so it was easier for us to play.
특히나 그 궁극기 중에서 가장 인상 깊었던 장면은 스코어를 메이저리그로 보내야 된다. 날카로운 폭포수 같은 포크홀이 나왔다. 뭐 이런 얘기 있었어요.
Well,
어떤
and your
장면인지 알아요?
ultimate was great today.
잘 기억이 안 나요.
Do you
그럼
remember?
보여줄게요.
Do you remember any of those?
일단은
If
첫 번째
not, we're
장면은
gonna check out the clips.
이 장면이요. 기억나요? 이 장면은?
네네.
상대편의 저항 비상을 빼고 나서 침착하게 끌고 오는 장면.
뭐요
We were really
장면에서는
patient
사실
over there.
낙한을 좀 클릭하고 있었는데
요거 포크볼! 그래서 확 끄는 장면. 포커스를 딱 확 끄는 장면.
궁극기가 좀 아쉽긴 했네요.
네, 그래도
Well,
포커싱이 너무
Snap said
좋았다는
actually
평가가
that
있었거든요.
was
근데
not a
원래
clean
포크볼은
play.
포수가 잘 못 잡아요. 그만큼 낙차가 크니까 이런 부분에 대해서는 괜찮았어요. 어땠어요?
So are you satisfied with your play on Skarner today?
일단 애니비아는 R이 있기 때문에 확실히 죽여야 되거든요.
네네.
Well, you know, Anivia always has a passive,
네.
so I want to make a kill for sure. So I don't think it was a bad play on me.
그 큰 그림을 봤다. 정글러의 그 큰 그림을 봤다. 뭐 이런 식으로 좀 얘기를 해주셨는데, 그 장면 말고도 사실 그 이번에 2세트 좀 얘기를 해볼 텐데,
Then
2세트
moving on
같은
to the game
경우는
2.
사실상 그 사이온을 들고 나왔는데 몇몇 팬들은 기억하시는 말이 있기 때문에 라는 생각을 하신 경우도 있어요.
Well,
왜냐면
some of the fans are worried about your
인터뷰에서
Sion play
스맵
because
사이온
Kuro
못한다고
said
프로 선수가
Smap is bad at
그건 안 된다고
Sion.
뭐 이런 식으로 얘기한 적이 있었거든요.
Do you wanna say anything to him?
선수의 말은
네.
What Kuro said
좀 말이
is
안 되는
90% is
말인 것
just
그래요?
not making sense.
사이온 하면은 그러니까 그 당시엔 제가 좀 못했지만
Well,
네.
back in the days, I wasn't good at Sion, yeah.
선수보다 잘하지 않나요?
But right now, I think I'm a
그럼
better
너무
Sion
옛날
player than
얘기였다.
him.
그럼요.
프레이 선수도 사이온 잘한다는 얘기를 들었었거든요.
And I also heard that Prey is also good at
좀
Sion.
재밌게 잘하는 편이라서.
네.
근데 진짜
I think
잘하는
Prey
편이라
is good in a
그럼
fun
그
way.
중에서 진짜 잘하는
Well,
선수
I'm the
있습니다.
real good
그럼요.
player for
역시.
Sion in competitive
그러니까 지금
games.
현재 일단은 스매스 선수 말로는 크로의 말 90%는
So
거짓말이고
breaking
세 명의
news
선수
says
중에서
that Kuro
사이온은 내가 확실히
said
잘한다.
everything Kuro says, 90%
그렇습니다.
of
그런 얘기를 좀
them
해주셨는데.
are liar.
일단은 그 하이라이트 장면들도 얻을 것들이 굉장히 많았습니다. 아주 인상 깊은 장면 많았잖아요.
We have a lot of
홈도 엄청
highlights
많았었고.
from the
아무래도
game too.
홈의 장면은 바로 그 장면이겠죠?
그런 것 같아요.
뭔 장면인지 알죠?
네.
뭔데요?
Which one was your favorite?
그냥 더블킥?
Well, my double kill on the top lane.
바로 볼까요? 이것 때문에 분위기가 완전 달라졌거든요. 어땠어요? 이게 각이 좀
So how was
나왔나요?
the situation?
각이 나오긴 했는데 확실히 난이도 있던 다이브였던 것 같아요.
It was actually a little bit complicated dive for MVP to try. So I was a little bit confident to survive.
신짜오에 관련된 사실 경기 감각이 모두 없을 수밖에 없어서 동료도 아군도 힘들고 적군도 힘들고
And
뭐 이런
Sinjao
장면들이
was back in
있었잖아요.
LCK
상대방이
in
신짜오가
5
나왔을 때는
years.
어떤
So how do you feel?
이제 신짜오를 이제 연습 경기에서는 많이 보진 못했지만
Well,
네.
I haven't seen him a lot.
많이들 하거든요.
But
그래서
yeah, there are a lot
어느
of
정도
players
딜이
using it on solo
나오는가는
queues.
이제 파악을 하고 있어서
So yeah, I
최대한
kind of have the sense of how strong he is.
갱킹의 변수만 차단하자 이런 마인드로
Yeah, I just try to stay aware of Sinchao's gank in top lane.
그 궁극기 썼을 때의 그 순간에 무적 시간에 가까운 그 장면들, 그 장면을 좀 잘 활용하는 장면들이 있었는데 정글러가 보기에는 어땠어요, 진짜?
Then as a jungler,
일단
how do you rate
솔로
Sinchao as a
랭크에서
champion?
주로 하는 사람들이 있는데 좀 많이 흉악한 짓을 많이 해요. 2렙에
Well, you know,
온다던가.
The Sinchao players in solo queue, they play really aggressively.
이번에도 블루 쪽으로
So I have
들어올 때
went through that
DPI 인데
before,
와드를
so
해달라 했는데 경호가 와드가 없다고.
I asked Smap to land a ward on my blue buff, but he said he doesn't have any wards, so...
미리 알아가지고.
But actually, so Yukal helped me out there, so I want to thank Yukal for helping out to survive and save my blue buff.
앞에 있는 그 선풍기 주인공이 누구냐고 막 그런 얘기를 하더라고요. 이게 똑같은 거를 폰이 쓰는 걸 봤거든요.
And Yukal always bring a mini electric fan on his gaming
본인이
booth.
산 거예요? 아니면
Whose
폰
fan
선수가
is that?
해준 거예요? 잘 모르겠어요.
원래 원석이가 쓰던 걸
I
쓰다가
think
네.
that's Pawn's
새로운
fan,
분홍색을
but
쓰기 시작했는데
he started to use a new one, so I'm not really sure whose fan is that.
얘기 한번 나눠볼까요, 유카이 선수?
Then we're gonna ask directly to
네,
Yukal.
네. 네, 승리 축하드리겠습니다.
Congratulations on the
오늘
win.
끝나고 나서 형들이 엄청 다독거리면서 유카 좋다고 뭐 이런 얘기를 좀 해주셨는데 어떻습니까?
So
오늘
how
경기?
was today's match?
나 마이크 한 손으로 여기가 잡으면 좀 약간 이상한 소리가 날 수가 있어요.
처음 만져봐가지고.
처음이에요?
Well, this is my
되게
first
만져도 돼요?
interview.
네.
오늘 형들이 되게 잘 받쳐줘서 되게 기분이 좋은 것 같아요.
Well, I want
형들
to
잘
thank
받쳐줘서.
my
근데 특히나
teammates that they
오늘 그
for playing so
경기를
solid
풀어나가는 데 있어서
throughout the game.
선풍기가 중요한 역할을 해줬나요?
네, 원석이
And did
형의
the mini fans help
유품이
you during the games?
유품, 노노노. 유품은 너무 위험한 단어. 유품 노노.
Well, it's
원석이 형의 선물.
present from Pawn.
선물. 장비.
네.
원석이 형의
And it really did help me
기프트,
in the
기프트,
games.
프레젠트. 오케이?
오케이.
오케이. 다시 한번 갈까요? 원석이 형의 그 선물이 어떤 역할?
원석이 형의 선물이
So, Pawn's
큰
present
영향을 준 것 같습니다.
Really
그렇죠.
did help me
얼마
to
전에
get the
그
victory
선풍기를
at the end of the game.
얻어냈다 이런 얘기 있었는데.
And I heard you got another one in pink color.
핑크는 원석이 형이 가지고 있던 선물을 강화시킨 거고 블루가 원석이 형이 원래 주신 겁니다.
Blue one is from Pawn, and the pink one is the one that Pawn bought for me.
그래서 사실상 그 실제로 유칼 선수에 대해서 궁금증을 가지신 분들이 상당히 많이 계세요.
And a lot of fans are curious about you, Yukal.
오늘 같은 경우는 뭐또 스웨인으로 또 좋은 장면을
You've been performing
보여줬잖아요.
great on your
KT 팬들도
swing.
이제 앞으로의 유칼 선수의 장면이 분명히
So they are expecting a lot
도움이 될
from
거라는
you.
얘기를 많이 하고 있거든요.
네.
팬 여러분께 한번
Would you like to say
해주시면
anything to your fans?
아직까지는 보여준 챔피언이 그렇게 많지는 않지만
Well, I still have a lot of more champions to show you, so I'm gonna make sure to prepare hard.
얘기를 나눠봤고요.
Thank you very much.
사실상 그 스맵 선수하고도 한마디를 더 해야 되는 게 저희가 그 스맵 선수의
스맵.
지난번에 대업적
You know, we have something to celebrate. Last time, we expected that you might have made your 1,000 kill record in LCK, so we prepared something for you.
사실상 저희만 축하한 것이 아니라 정말 많은 분들께서 축전을
But
보내주셨습니다.
you know, it's a really meaningful milestone, and
어떤
a lot of
분들이
messages
축전을 보내주셨는지
from other players
만나볼까요?
we prepared.
안녕하세요. 지금은 BJ를 하고 있는 이영호입니다. 이번에
So this is Flash, the former KT player.
KT 선배로서 너무 뿌듯하고요. 제가 평소에도 롤을 좋아하기 때문에 자주 보는데 정말 세계 최고의 탑 라이너라고 생각하고 앞으로도 이렇게 계속해서 멋진 게임 보여줬으면 좋겠습니다. KT 롤스터 파이팅!
So let's go KT Rolster and hope you become the world best top laner. And this is Yellow, the former KT StarCraft player.
오랜만에 굉장히 여기서 인사드리는데요. 다름이 아니라 이번에 KT
So he said he really want to congratulate
달성한다고 해요.
Smap's 1,000 kill in LCK.
너무너무 진심으로 축하드리고요. 앞으로도
And
계속해서
hope he became a better player
열심히 좋은 성적 거두시길 바라고
in
또 항상
the future.
KT 그리고 모든 선수들 응원하도록 하겠습니다.
And he'll be rooting for KT Rolster.
정말 진심으로 축하드리고 항상 좋은 성적
Once again, congratulations on your 1,000 kill.
안녕하세요 여러분, 조냐 강민입니다. KT 스맵 선수가
And this is
달성했다고요?
Kangmin from the former KT Rolster StarCraft player.
와, 이거 이렇게 된 거 2,000개까지 가자.
Well, really celebrating on your 1,000 kill.
축하드립니다.
So I want to congratulate on your great milestone you made in LCK.
첫째 현재 1,036킬입니다.
And currently it's 1,036 kills so far.
1,000킬을 돌파한 기념으로 저희가 한번 준비를 해봤는데 중간에 뭐 홍진호 선수가 스마비라고 얘기했던 것은 일본의 유명한 가수 스마비라고 있어요. LOL의 스마비.
So I think Yellow kind of made a mistake calling out your name, but I hope you can understand it.
축하드립니다.
How do you feel?
제가 좋아하는 분들, 너무 제가 존경하는 분들.
Well, I really admire and respect all those players, so I feel really honored and really happy.
나올 때마다 많이 놀라실 때고 이경호 선수도 그렇고 괜찮았어요?
So how was that?
저렇게 이렇게 저희 선배님들처럼 되고 싶거든요.
I really want to become a player like the former KT players in the videos, so I feel really happy and honored.
그 축하의 그 기쁨도 뭐 나머지 선수들도 충분히 그 기념이 나올 때마다 저희가 준비를 할 테니까 그리고 뭐 언젠가 할 거잖아요 1,000킬.
Oh, and Yuko, you're gonna make it in the future, right?
한번 해보도록 하겠습니다.
Of course I will.
선수가 좀 오랜 시간 동안 이야기를 나눠봤습니다. 다시 한번 멋진 2대0 승리를 하였던
So it was a very
지금까지
meaningful and festive interview with Smap, Score, and Yuko from KT Rolster. This will be the end of the interview of today's first series, and I'll pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Well, that was a SPO TV special, the
Yeah.
never-ending interview with many different highlights in the interview even. So many different famous people showing up, and these are superstars in Korea, you guys should know. I know you're not huge fans of StarCraft or the old scene, but definitely know that they put together a lot to support and congratulate Smev for getting 1,000 kills.
Yeah, I love the legends of KT Pro Gaming. Flash, the first one, the one that I am obviously most acquainted with, known to be perhaps the greatest ever Brood War player in the history of StarCraft 1. So very cool to see that. Smeb is obviously a recent convert to KT. They're hoping he will be a franchise player as well. Great game on the Scion in this one. MVP unfortunately ran out of steam far too early. There was a practice lap. They failed the practice lap, but unfortunately, it was the first lap, and it was a real race. So it was all downhill from there for the side of MVP, and KT with a comfortable 2-0. What does it mean for second place? That actually might not mean very much, Valdez. BBQ versus Afrika in our second series. If BBQ win, if Afrika win, then they are guaranteed to be second. If BBQ win, then the final match of the season is going to be for second place. So I guess if you're looking for some hype, you want to see a BBQ victory so that we can have second place decided in the final match of the season.
You know, if I had to make a prediction, I would certainly say that Afrika's going to stomp them in game 1, and then BBQ's going to stomp Afrika in game 2 somehow, some way, and then Afrika's going to make them look silly in game 3.
Well, which, there you go.
You know, I thought might have happened in this series too, but KT Rolster, whenever they go up against someone that's not so good, they make them look silly.
Yeah, 57.5 minutes for this destruction. Great games by KT. First sign of 8.5. We saw a Swain, so we're happy. As we mentioned, KT are now in third place, but Afrika play in our second match. There's no way for KT to overcome their game score if BBQ lose to Afrika. So Afrika versus BBQ will be important. Then at the bottom, remember BBQ play Kongnu Monster in their last match of the season. They will go to -10 if they lose 2-0 and then win 2-0. And that would mean MVP will be relegated, Valdez. So there's actually a lot of hype around the bottom and the top of the table in our second series.
Certainly is. And, well, KT Rolster making their way up. Still interested to see who's going to make it into the last final 2 spots of the playoffs. You know, we know it's going to be Kingzone, Afrika, KT. The spots can change, but who's going to be number 4 and 5? We're not so sure.
There's also some bookkeeping for the fans. Guys, it was a quick 2-0. There was less than an hour of gameplay. That means that looking at my clock here, we have just under an hour, about 58-minute breaks. So 58 years is a long amount of time. You could do some aging. We might all look different by then, but we will have a great second series. So I see Ignar in the crowd. He's ready to go.
They were trying to stop him from going in front of the camera, but then he just kind of sat down anyway and whatever. But we're going to see you guys. It looks like the music has started, so go get some popcorn. Go play a game of League. You have enough time, certainly, as we're going to be back in about 55 minutes. We'll see you then.